And we're back with On the Record with Tiffany and my two good friends and guests. I couldn't think of like two people that I would want to bring in this new era. You know, we're closing out a tough year, but we're doing it in Black Girl Magic style, okay? With a new president-elect and a new vice president-elect, a historical moment for African-American women, Asian women, for all of us. I mean, and especially in the 100th year anniversary of women's suffrage.
Yes.
Like, this is like a super time for females.
Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. One of them. One of the elephants in the room is some news outlets are not even acknowledging that she is Black.
What? Goodness.
LJ's shaking her head. They will acknowledge that she's half Asian.
Yep.
But they are not saying she is half Black. And those same news outlets that I would bet 75 years ago, 50 years ago, were standing by the one drop rule. LJ, tell them about the one drop rule.
One drop. That means if you get one drop of Black blood, maybe you is Black child. Undeniable. But see, now they don't want it to be. Now she's, she's by way of Jamaica, so she can't be Black. First of all, listen, we all came from the same place. We got dropped off in different places. Don't play with me. Okay?
Yes.
What is going on?
There you go. Because I'm just like, who? What?
Oh, you haven't seen that?
Now all of a sudden.
I don't want to call out the networks.
I don't watch a lot of television. I get mine from reading.
I read as well.
That's good.
Part of the reason why I don't watch a lot of television is the girls. I have two little girls, and the death rates rising with COVID-19 has been stressful on them, and we've had several family members die during COVID-19. So as it really hit home, and early on in the pandemic, after the second person died in our family, my youngest daughter she was pulling out her eyelashes and eyebrows, and she just nervously, and just every day worried that her dad was going to work and I was going to work, and she was concerned that we were going to get sick, that we were going to get very sick and die. And so we turned off everything to do with it. I did that probably in March or April.
I have to say, unfortunately, I'm not a TV watcher either. I read my news every morning. The news that I read is liberal, more to moderate. So since I'm not getting conservative news in my inbox, I have since Tuesday, I've been watching the conservative networks when I turn on the TV. And now I've discovered there's this news mix channel on DirecTV, so you can have 4 screens going at once.
Lord. Now, who came up with that?
I know, you can move to here, so you're watching it anyway. So I don't normally watch TV, and people that know me know that is not the case. But not the conservative network, not the conservative network that has just swung to more moderate that Trump is not happy with. But there are some other conservative networks out there. They are not acknowledging her as a Black woman. So I just wanted to put that out there. It is the elephant in the room. Pay attention. So they'll say her name right, but they won't say she's Black.
That is nuts.
And we went through that. Our own came after her and said the same thing they did with President Barack Obama. He ain't black enough. They said the same thing about her. You're not, your father's Jamaican. Your relationship with your Jamaican side of the family is not all that great. That's what they're, thinking because of all that.
Say that. What are you saying about yourself? To black people who say something like that, I say, what are you saying about yourself?
Well,
when you say that somebody is not black enough, what are you defining as black? One, and because often we will define the most negative traits and say, this is what it is to be us. Yeah. I hate that because the best traits that I have that people like about me came from my community. That's where I learned them, from a black mother and a black father, and from black grandparents, and a loving community that served me cool cups in my poor out my friend's window. Her mama would sell them out out the window.
That's right.
Out of the house, had a little business going. I mean, I grew up 7 streets over from the projects, and I'm very proud of that. Mm-hmm. Who I am today, all of this fabulousness that you see now came right from the hood.
Well, but the question is, goodness, question is, what is black enough? She's a bison, okay, for the listeners. She's an Art University, HBCU grad. She is a paid member, not just I paid my dues when I was in college. Mm-hmm. She is a paid member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. That's why all those women were strolling.
You saw them strolling.
She is a paid member of Links Incorporated. What do you want the sister girl to do?
Exactly. Like, come on now. Like, because I have heard the same thing said about me. I'm sure the same thing's been said about you. I'm sure the same thing's been said about you. You're like, no, not me.
Because we have Indian. Like, we have Indian. Like, my grandfather was Indian.
I get the same thing, and I'm like,
yeah.
So,
but he identified as black.
And I ask the same question each time. Who do you think is paving the way for you? It's other people who are interacting with other ethnicities all the time. So that would be people like me. I'm not saying I'm paving the way. I'm saying that it's people like us that are doing that.
You gotta get out there and do it.
That's right. So, I have this conversation all the time because everybody wants to be, everybody thinks that if you're black, you have to be a Democrat. I think that there should be many more black Republicans. And that is because if you want to be at the table, then you need to be at every table. And you need to understand every group. You cannot just act like every Republican is a racist, because they're not. Every Republican is not out there trying to do you wrong. The tenets of the Republican Party really are that, Republicans believe in balanced budgets. They believe in looking at and letting capitalism and letting free markets rule and reign and letting them do what they do so that jobs and the economy can be stimulated. Those are not bad things. And we need to begin to understand that, because a lot of the values that are there exist in the Black community too. And I think we saw that with some of the numbers in voting this year. There were major wins for Democrats, and there were some wins for Republicans, in the sense that you can see where there can be diversity in the Republican Party if they're willing to look at and embrace African Americans and the various different groups within the African American community. We are not one group think. It's not just one, and it's the same thing with the Hispanic community. I think that people really realize, wait a minute, there are Cubans and Puerto Ricans and Venezuelans and Mexicans. Everybody is not from the same country. And so the values from the different places.
Very different.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk to a Venezuelan and you say the word socialism, they're immediately going to vote against that because they just walked out of a socialistic society that fell apart.
Absolutely.
You know, so, I mean, there's some real opportunity on both sides for us to shore this up and make it better on both sides, you know. So when I see this, I see a lot of hope. When I look at Biden and Harris, I see a lot of hope. When I look at the Republican Party, I see a lot of hope because I see that there's if they can reach across the aisle and work together and bring in more minorities and women into both groups, you're talking about an unstoppable nation.
Absolutely. The key is the inclusion piece.
That's right.
And that's very different from diversity.
Yeah.
Because you can have a diverse picture, but if I can't sit at the table and order off the same menu,
then what's the point?
Pay my bill, have the same server respect me just like they're going to respect someone else, and I don't have a seat at the table.
Exactly.
You're just saying it's a pretty picture.
It's just lip service.
Absolutely.
It's lip service. There really has to be enough different groups represented within the Republican Party and within the Democratic Party for us to be heard, for each of those groups to be heard, to have an agenda, a real agenda, not a simulation. Lord, let me get along with y'all. Let me say whatever I want. It can't be that. It can't be that. You can't just go along and act like everything in the Black community sucks. Everything in the Hispanic community sucks. You can't do that. You can't do that. Cannot be, and which is what it has been for a while. It can't be that. It can't be this is simulation. It should be we embrace Deborah for who she is, for all of who she is. And that's what we want there. We want that perspective to help us inform what we're doing next. Not, Deborah, you need to change. Get rid of the hair. Drop the cool outfits. Dampen that, you know.
Dampen it down.
Like, you know, no.
But that's what's so powerful about Kamala, right? Is about her being the, Vice President of the United States elect, because she's a part of that foreign other. You know what I mean? When you think about like Asian Americans, they're always stereotyped, even if they are, multiple generations American. It's always the same like accent. There's always, we always otherize them, right? And so it's so powerful that we're able to have her as VP select, because we're forced then to recognize that she is that, she's this, and she's not just one, she's not a single issue. She's not a single, organism. She is a whole woman, a whole human, who's got a plethora of experiences, an excellent background.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And we need to love and admire and respect her. And also, because she's looking to serve us, and also go to her and say, this is what we want. That is our elected representative. We still hold her accountable.
Nobody can say that she is not about us having a nation that is well put together and well thought out. When I think one of the things that really hurt the Democratic Party this time, though they did well, I think one of the things that hurt them was the phrase defund the police, not the concept behind it. Because if you actually went and read the concept behind it, it's a great concept. Basically, it's saying let's allocate funds for mental health, for communities, for community growth, and plug it into the education and the betterment of the community, right? Instead of plugging so much money into policing people and into the worst things. But when you say something as incendiary as defund the police, it immediately, and there are lots of people in the Democratic Party who say the same thing. I was looking at a couple of pundits talking about it, and they were saying, it was the phrasing that needed to be different. But whenever I talk to my 20-somethings, they tell me the same thing. We're tired of giving good phrases. We want an angry phrase.
We wanted to speak it plain. We got to speak it plain sometimes. And I think that was part of our problem. We wanted to speak it plain, but we didn't actually have the firepower behind that, to be able to make it happen.
But when I believe that one of the things that we have to do is address that piece, not the phrasing. Set aside the phrasing. Let's look at what needs to be done in these communities, because we're at a time where we can do that, and it is imperative. Camden, New Jersey, is a great example of what can be done and how well a community can recover from having an 8 minutes and 46-second type place to a community where people actually trust the police. If you want that, then it cuts both ways. The police have so much that they have to do, and the community has so much that they have to do. And you have to get to the table and have the difficult conversation. Nobody wants to hear that they have racist people in their ranks and that they're tolerating them, but you do and you are. So how do we get them out? And how do we then build trust in the community? We've got examples like Camden, New Jersey, so why not utilize them?
Well, and I think people forget that if I'm wondering how I'm going to feed my family, if I'm wondering how I'm going to pay my bills, if I'm wondering now even about my children being educated, and the list goes on and on and on and on, then you put me really in survival mode. And my friend William Tutt, who does work with Bexar County Justice Department, he talks about PTSD from a different perspective. If we have been programmed to be beaten, if you know a beating is coming, you are going to flee. That's genetically, inherently what is going to happen.
With every human being. Yes.
So if you put me in survival mode and now you're coming for me, which is what in a lot of communities, police officers are seen as, I'm coming for you, then I am either going to flee because the master has beat me enough that genetically that's what I'm going to do, or I'm going to turn on you. So the basic principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that needs to be ingrained in our system. We should not live in a city that is economically segregated.
Yeah.
We just shouldn't. We shouldn't have houses with holes in the floor. And I'm not telling you what I think.
That's what
I'm telling you what I've seen. So anyway, I could go on and on and on about that. But we do need to look at how do we take this law and order piece, which is so not justice. Yeah. So we need to take out law and order, take that phrasing out, because that is a supreme phrasing.
We need to take out law and order, and we need to take out the idea of the militarization of the police, because they should not be. They are not a military force.
No.
When we have to have the military in, that's right. When we have to have the military in, that's different from like these no-knock orders. Since when do you need to just go bust in somebody's door to pick him up? You know he's going to the Quicken Mart at 7. Pick him up. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but that's the truth. That's the truth. Like, nobody is just holed up, just in there. Just holed up in there. they're leaving and doing different. So pick them up when they go somewhere that they're not supposed. You know, they walk out the door. Mr. Johnson, you are new.
You've been served.
And
you know, like it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be crazy. And for the no-knock order for Breonna Taylor, it was how many months old?
Like,
and it was a previous boyfriend.
Like, you know, but my thing is, okay, where was it? If you're supposed to be this stealthy military organization, then where was the surveillance? So you could see, oh, wait a minute. That don't look like the same guy. Or, oh, wait a minute. We're at the wrong house. You know, because they've done that before. And what about the guy that they went busting in on, and he was ex-military and he shot a whole bunch of them. So then what happens to somebody like that? You know, who was like, I don't know who, these people just came rushing into my place. And he didn't kill the last one, the last person that was left standing, because by then he figured out, oh, I think this might be some police officers that's trying to bust up in here. You know, like, and it didn't even have to go down like that, because everybody, most people are not just holed up in their homes for weeks and months at a time. They are roaming around doing stuff, so go pick them up on. I don't see why that should exist. No, those no-knock warrants.
Absolutely.
Like, they don't have a good reason for that.
We're going to defend our home. Exactly. We have the right to do that.
Yeah.
So.
And to come in and shoot someone, kill someone, and then throw the little boyfriend in jail because he was firing back at him. I mean, it's like, okay, we've got to have.
It's crazy.
We got to come up with some better solutions than this. Because some of the stuff, this is the greatest nation on earth. I do believe that. So I think we have enough intellectual fervor to be able to figure out how to arrest someone without killing up everybody in the place when you don't need to.
So I have a question. Ladies, what are we going to do?
To celebrate?
No.
Or what are we going to do
to make a difference?
To make a difference.
To make a difference. I like the celebration part too.
I'm always down for a mimosa. But seriously, policy change. Like, really, this is the time. There has never been a better time for us as African Americans with voices, as women with voices, as young people, and this is for all of you 20-somethings. I'm glad that y'all are willing to march. So march yourselves on down to your legislator's office and find out how you can get involved in policy making, because it's policy that changes the world. Marches are great, but at the end of your march, you need to have what your political agenda is and where you want to go, and get that policy written and start lobbying for it and pushing it through.
Tiffany, what do you think? There's a number of, we have a new Bexar County commissioner that's a woman. Actually, we have two, but I'm thinking now of Becky Flores Clay, who is #1 commissioner of the #1 district. And we have a number of city council women. We have a new constable. Oh my God, Catherine Brown, African-American female.
I saw her.
Constable. I think we need to figure out how we can get these women together.
That would be amazing.
And share maybe what their jurisdiction is and how they can affect policy and how
what their vision is.
Can hold them accountable to make a change for us.
You know, we need to invite them on the record with Tiffany, and let's talk to them and see what and do and find out what they're doing. You know, because becoming a constable, it's a new world and a new order. So let's see where we're going with this. You know, sometimes just getting people in a room together or just on a Zoom together, Zoom call, folks can, all of a sudden, great ideas
Mm-hmm.
and a pathway, a real pathway, comes together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what we want to see here. Like, let's not let this momentum die or dampen.
Mm-hmm.
We getting our country moving down the right path requires everybody that has a voice and everybody that has a platform to get out there and make it happen and voice an opinion. You know, whether people believe in what you're saying or not, you still need to present the perspective and try to integrate what we think is right into our society. And ladies, we got to end it there. Luana, tell me one thing that you want to see happen in 2021.
I would like for us to continue the momentum. We've done a lot in terms of electing, Black women, Black folks all throughout the country. I'd like to see more of that type of momentum. I think that the work is just going to begin. We're just getting started, so let's keep it going.
What do you want to see?
To add to LJ, I would like to see us create a Black agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So that we are not taken for granted and we can hold our elected officials accountable to what will make a difference in our community.
I would like to see the same, an agenda on both sides, an agenda that which we have not seen thus far. Something that makes sense, that is fostering economic development in these depressed areas. We've watched Black communities deteriorate and Hispanic communities deteriorate across administration, across Democratic and Republican administration. So what I'd like to see is an agenda that promotes economic development, that promotes Black businesses and Hispanic businesses, and lets them flourish and truly experience what capitalism is and is supposed to be, without all of the negative that we have all historically gone through based on our skin color. So let's see those small business loans and all of the tools that are afforded to our other counterparts afforded to economically depressed communities. And we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming and for listening and for talking and engaging my listeners. And you all who have been listening, get out there, start conversations with your coworkers and your friends, the people that look different from you and that think differently from you, because that's how we get our country back to where it is.